Yeah, buddy. Always want. So, how about try this for the intro? Good morning, Vietnam. No, that's not.
I think that's copyrighted.
Probably. That's why I didn't finish it.
It's Lieutenant Dan.
All right. It is October 24th, a week before Halloween. We're getting away. I think Tuesdays are our good luck days for weather because we got another warm one today. 70, high 75. Am I right about that?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
All right. So, stealing warm days. What do they call this? Native summer? Or indigenous summer?
Indian summer?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Indian summer. So, I don't know. So,
I don't know if that's derogatory or not. Maybe
I'm not sure
leave-
either. That's what I was
you
trying
should
to
leave
avoid.
it out. I don't know if that's politically correct, but then again, I've never been known to be somebody who's politically correct.
Exactly. The other guys are holding their breath over here, hoping this conversation ends quickly. So I would like to start out with the hot topic around Owosso and Shiawassee County. Our favorite businesses, our favorite local businesses. I'll get to the hot topic part, I guess, in a little bit, but why don't we start with one of you all giving us your this week's favorite local business, or more than one if you need to.
I'll jump in.
All right.
I will give them by favorite being the three that I frequent the most, and number one would be Foster Coffee. A great stop on your way to work or to hang out or do work at Foster Coffee. Second would be Oak and Ivory, and I frequent that mostly because of my wife. And great selection of clothes, new, fresh, fresh selections. Every time we go in there, there's something new. And then Aviator Jane is a good stop if you're looking for something to furnish your house with. So I would put those three towards the top of the list.
Very good, Phil.
Yeah. And I like how he said my wife without stumbling.
I know, that was awesome. That's the first time I've heard him say
It just
my
rolled
wife.
off the tongue. That was awesome. I'm very proud of you, Phil.
Thank you.
Good job.
He's been practicing all morning.
All right. What else we got?
I'll go with Cupcakes and Kisses. I know Kevin and Tony very well and their entire family, and they grew that business, and I know they're adding a new location in Grand Blanc. So they're up to 4 locations now, and they have stops, little pop-up shops or whatever all over the state of Michigan, really, where they deliver to, and they always have good products. So, and they're always changing things as well, and decorating for the holidays on their cupcakes or their cookies or whatever, and it's good.
It's good.
Very
It's
nice.
good.
Very nice.
Very good. That's why I have to go to the gym every day.
So I'll take a cue from Phil, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll talk about my top 3. How does that sound?
Perfect.
So I'm going to start with just across the street here. We've got It's a Deli Thing. It's a Deli Thing. Great sandwiches. Great place for breakfast and lunch.
It's good.
Yeah. 16 years there, and they do a fantastic job. I'm looking for them to be there another 16. I would say probably number 2 would be Myrtle's Chocolates. Just Melissa's, in addition to being a great business owner offering great products, that she is also very embedded in the community in downtown at Owosso, and she puts brings a lot of energy down here. And last but not least is Springrove. Just that's like one of my kids' favorite stops. Every time they come downtown, they love that place. I love to run amok in there.
I love it.
We
It's
took
good.
Eli in there on Saturday, and he had a hoot.
Very good. Well, Brian took one of mine, so I'll forego
Oh, I'm
that.
sorry.
No,
I'll give it back. Hang on.
Nope. So since you said Spring Grove, I'm going to go JoAnne Fabric. Absolutely. I'm not a fabric connoisseur by any means, but if you look off, back in the background, that black panel that was some fabric bought from JoAnne Fabric, and they've been a staple of our downtown since I can remember. I really can't remember a time that they weren't there. And of course, rumor is anyway that we're going to see them leave that space, which is a bummer. And then my other one, and I have to say that I'll give the disclosure that I have never shopped there, but Millie's Boutique, which happens to be right across the street from JoAnne Fabric, is owned by a schoolmate of mine. She was actually a class ahead of me, but another local entrepreneur putting in work. They have had over the years creative hours, creative ways of bringing in business. They've been fun from a business ownership perspective to watch grow. And so shout out to Millie's Boutique. And look, let's not kid ourselves. The reason I brought up this topic is because I wanted us to talk about Springrove and JoAnne Fabric.
Oh, so you had an ulterior motive here.
I did.
Okay.
Yep. I'm not afraid to admit that. We two longtime anchors of Downtown Owosso happen to be on the same block, are leaving our downtown. Springrove actually drove through Lowell, maybe, this weekend. Can't remember which little town it was, and there's a Springrove 5 and dime there. It was closed on a Sunday when we came through, but thought that was interesting. The controversy about these two businesses leaving downtown is it is the hot topic. So I want to talk about it a little bit and see. I want to get your guys' opinion. We know, at least from conversation, we don't have confirmation officially, I guess, but that a dollar store is going in where JoAnne Fabric has been.
Mm-hmm.
People are up in arms about it. I'd just like to get your thoughts on it.
All right, I'll go first. Sure, why not? Fall on the sword here. I've seen arguments for both sides. So some people are excited about the change. I would say there's a vast majority out there that are not excited about the change. That's going to mean I think it's going to be a pretty dramatic change to downtown here, because it just brings a different type of business down here. So Downtown Owosso has generally been about small business, and not necessarily all boutiques, but definitely small business, single proprietorships that are trying to grow and just make Owosso a nice, fun place to be. And that's not going to attract that type of client down here. And I think it's going to change things down here. It really will. I do believe that. And I do understand the other side of the argument. It's better than having a vacant building. Yes, I totally agree with that. But I think that something nicer should go in there, something different, something that encourages more single, small startup businesses to grow down here.
Yeah. Anybody else have any input on this?
I was going to basically say the same thing, except for a much shorter version. Basically, yeah, I don't want a vacant building, but want something local to be in there, or at least have a chance. And then if it didn't work out, do what you got to do to keep the building from going away. But I like the thought of a local business versus another dollar store.
Hey, everybody, it's our friend Devin. Hey! Phil, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have any specific thoughts on JoAnne Fabrics or on Dollar Tree, but I think to echo what Brian was saying, and even Cody, about the atmosphere of downtown Owosso, I think it will see a little bit of a change. And it's, for me, I don't lean to one side or the other, but I do have questions. Number one, why do certain areas or certain, we could say, vacant buildings seem to get a priority, we could say, and being used for like these boutique shops and filled out with small businesses, and then other ones seem to get pushed to the back or forgotten altogether? Just a question. We need to be mindful of what we're doing in the long term, because a dollar store is not something that's going to be here for 2-3 years and then gone. It's going to be here for a while. And so what does that do 10 years from now, 15 years from now? What does that open the door for when we're talking about the changes that come to Downtown Owosso?
Good questions. Good questions. My the reason it became such a hot topic, or at least a topic of conversation for me, is because of the response it got. I think my personal feelings on it, A, don't matter all that much, but B, I I understand, like you guys said, I understand the change. Change can be good. Progress can be good. The question about progress is, at what cost?
Mhm.
And I'm not one of the property owners, and I'm not one of the agents involved with it, so I can't really answer those questions. I think the response has just shown that our town actually really does want small, privately / locally owned shops. I think that's a great thing to find out through this process. Is that apparently the people prefer these little um, smaller businesses. The issue is the people that have been responsible for filling those buildings can't create a small business just to fill that space. They can't do it themselves. We need, if that's the complaint, we need people to create small local businesses, and then we need people to support those local businesses. So I'm sympathetic to the people that don't want to see another chain come in. And yes, JoAnne Fabric is a chain, but it's certainly a niche chain. It served the needs of fabric buyers and crafters and whatnot. Whereas a dollar store or Dollar General is more general and certainly a bigger nationwide franchise anyway. Springrove, this has been a conversation for a long time about them eventually leaving Owosso, and I think that the that people should have been prepared for the idea that they were leaving. And I don't know that we know of a tenant replacing them
No,
yet.
I haven't heard anything yet.
That will be I'm sure, somewhat controversial. But the other thing you have to remember is that a small, especially a startup, but a small local business, it's not feasible for them to occupy a space like that. That's a big space. Now, could they be divided down into smaller spaces? Probably. I'm not. Again, I'm not the building owner, so I can't speak too much to that. But I guess the point is, apparently there is a desire for the small local businesses. So I guess if that's going to be the case, we need people to raise their hand and say, "Hey, I've got a business. I have an idea." And maybe they can't fund it, so they need to talk to the right people to get it funded and everything. But everybody has a good idea or a bad idea based on how it's perceived, and those people that are in opposition to it, I guess that perhaps they should find a way to fix that solution and come up with a small business, or fix that problem and come up with a small business that they want here. Um, I what I will say, very cautiously, is that the campaign around the new Dollar General or whatever, I don't even know if it's
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. The campaign around trying to get some support for it has been a little transparent, I guess is probably the word I'm looking for. The conversations I'm having with people that are in opposition to it and that are angered by the conversation, that this is a good thing, it's just a little transparent to me. There's some people that are involved with making that deal happen, and of course they're going to defend it. That's all I can say about it. Is of course they're going to defend it. It's something they're involved with, and I'm not saying just for financial gain or anything like that, but they're involved with it. They know the players, and of course they're going to support it, and they're going to try to get support for it. So I guess all of that conversation, I feel like, is probably working against their cause. To be honest with you, a lot of the conversation people have had with me is, I guess if they weren't trying so dang hard to sell this onto people, I wouldn't be so alerted to, wouldn't be so alerted to it. But you've got this information campaign going on out there, and I think people see through it that it's one sided. So, and that's I'm not making any claims of character or anything like that, but that's what I'm seeing.
The only tidbit that I'll add to that is the fact that at least the one post that I saw on social media had well over 200 comments of people that were not happy with this decision. And my words to them are that to ask the question, how are you supporting local businesses? Are you coming downtown and are you shopping here? Because if you're not utilizing that, this is what's going to happen. If you want Owosso downtown to grow and be more fruitful for small business and have a better environment, better entertainment, better restaurants, you need to come down here and support it now so that we can build that and make that happen.
And look, even if I don't know, if I'm trying to come up with, even if craft beer is not your thing, I'm thinking somebody like Niche. They have other domestic beers, but they're kind of a specialty drink and a specialty food menu, so to speak. Even if you're not into that stuff per se, supporting a business like Niche keeps them here, which then fosters other businesses to come in downtown. So
True.
It's not just about, hey, I don't like that stuff, I'm not going to buy stuff from there. It is about supporting local downtown businesses to keep that going. My thoughts. All right, moving on from that topic, I have one more juicy topic maybe to talk about. It's not juicy, but I want everybody to chime in on what they feel, and I didn't give you any warning to gather your thoughts on this topic.
And we thank you for that.
You're welcome. The importance of a local association of realtors, a local Realtor Association. I want us to, we are members of the Greater Shiawassee Association of Realtors, which happens to be located on North Washington Street in downtown Owosso. That's where the offices are. And a lot of the public that I talk to, they don't know the function of a Realtor Association. So I kind of would just like us to have some dialogue about the local association and the benefits, and if you know of any cons or whatever, any negative to being a member of the local association. And I say local because I mean it, as opposed to a business that is based out of Shiawassee County or Owosso for that matter, that would be not members of the local association, but say the Flint area or the Eastern Central Association of Realtors or the Greater Lansing Association of Realtors or the Saginaw Association of Realtors, whatever it is, and not being members of the local that they work in. So that's why I'm bringing up local as opposed to some other area. So thoughts?
I would rephrase that and say I wouldn't necessarily say that it's called a local association. I would say maybe more like it's a locally collaborative association is the way that I would put it, because it creates an association, a group by where the members actually can have a more collaborative experience. Of the real estate sales that I've done, fewer than 25% do I ever have both ends of it. So typically I am working with another realtor out there, and generally from our local board for homes here in Shiawassee County. And the benefit is that I'm working for a realtor that I know. They're a member of our board, which means that I can likely trust that they're going to be ethically responsible, and do what they're supposed to do as part of what their job is their side of the deal entails. So typically I've seen agents that work outside of our board, the communication is definitely disconnected. There's the bigger issue is paperwork doesn't match up because every board uses their own forms. So sometimes that can get a little bit confusing to work with. But I think working with a local board member, that's definitely more, the communication is better I believe.
Because there's a relationship there.
Correct.
And your local association generally are going to have events for the members to socialize with, or professional development, and again, another networking opportunity amongst agents. So you build this relationship, and you have this professional, more of a tighter knit professional obligation to handle your business
right.
ethically and amenably, or whatever the word
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for. Yeah.
Well, that's what I would say. It's great about having the local association too. Is working with the local agents. You have the same rules and regulations, so you know what is ethical and all that, and following the same rules. But you get agents from outside the area that come in that their board does things completely different, and things may not run as smooth, or arguments in that. I've ran into that quite a bit, where you get an agent from the Detroit area or just any area that doesn't have the same rules and regs, because we talk about that all the time. Being in the board, that you just run into agents that come in from the out of the area, don't know anything about how we do things in Shiawassee County, because rules are different.
Customs are different.
Yeah, like well and septic, for instance. I mean, I run into that a lot, where it's like, did you get the conformance letter? Well, what's that? It's like, we require that. A lot of counties around us don't. Taxes are prorated differently, so people need to know that. It's just having people local and having a local board to where we can collaborate and all that. That's the pro and con.
Yeah, well, sure, it can be a con with a small board like we are. If there is any conflict between any party members, it becomes a bigger deal, because it's a smaller group of people we're dealing with. But Phil, you've been a member of the Greater Shiawassee Association of Realtors for a number of years now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say two things. First, as an association, it's only as good as its leadership and those who have responsibility in it. And I think when we talk about the benefits of how it benefits us, I think that flows from the top on down. I think it definitely is good to have a collaborative feel when you're working in business. But the second thing that I would say is actually a question. What does it mean to the consumer? What's the benefit for the consumer that we're part of a local association? And as you mentioned when you posed the question, most of the consumers don't even know, let alone care. And I feel like that's because they don't know. So how do we convey to them, not only inform them that we're part of a local association, but how do we convey to them the importance that we're part of a local association? And how does that impact their decision making when they're interviewing us to take a listing or to represent them as a buyer?
Those are the absolute right questions to ask, I believe. And if you don't mind, I'll answer a little bit of that. First of all, the local association, our Greater Shiawassee Association of Realtors mission statement includes being a voice for real estate here in mid-Michigan, meaning be advocates for homeowners. So we pay attention to taxes, property taxes, and the millages that are put out there. We go political and are concerned for the and offer endorsements when appropriate for local candidates that we know will support homeownership rights, and for that matter, business rights, business owner rights. For the state of Michigan has been trying to impose a service tax, a business service tax on real estate sales, and associations like the Michigan Association of Realtors and then our local association contribute not only to information campaigns to make sure people understand what's happening and they can talk to their state rep, but we also will lobby. We have a political action committee or political action fund, and we will lobby the state and federal government for causes that are important to homeowners. So being a voice for real estate is one major reason that we exist. And the other one is for the cooperation amongst agents to support fair business between our members and non-members for that matter. And so it really is an organization with high local interest in all things that affect home ownership and real estate in general, not just home ownership, but commercial property as well. And then I think that the third thing that they are really there for is that collaborative effect that you guys talked about, knowing that we are going to run into each other at the grocery store or at sporting events or whatever it is, and then be able to sit down and have pizza together and maybe a drink over a social event definitely makes for a better working environment when when those things are taken advantage of, when you participate and you actually do network with your fellow agents. But in a better working environment isn't just beneficial to us, it's beneficial to the client, because negotiations sometimes can become adversarial, but generally speaking, we have to, this is getting a transaction to the closing table is a team effort. And if we're not all working for the same cause, it can cost our clients money, and it can cost them deals. So the question then, after all this conversation, is how important is it to a local home buyer or home seller that their agent be a member of the local association? I think it's huge. I think it's very important.
I think it's huge, but at the same time, it should be invisible to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
It's an important thing for them to understand that, yes, we are involved in the local community. We're involved in the local board. We're part of the local network of realtors. However, that should not be something that should ever affect their decision in listing their home with us. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
No, I would clarify.
Okay. All right. So just them simply knowing that we're there and that we are making the effort. It's an effort on our side. That should be something to say that, hey, it's almost like getting a certification of sorts. So if you want to prove that you're good at doing a certain thing, like for instance, when I did IT work, I had an RHCE certification. So that was something that showed that I knew how to work on those systems and be able to do that kind of work. Okay. But was that necessary for me to do my job? No, it wasn't necessary. I could still do the same job. It's just that to an employer, it made me look better. Mm-hmm. And then when we were trying to attract new clients, that was something that went into our company's resume to show that we were successful in what we did. And these are our certifications to back it up. And I view the association as kind of being the same thing for us. So the association is something that shows that we are morally, ethically responsible. We are part of this network of other realtors, but it's not something that you should necessarily know about. It's just, you should know that we're part of that, because we're going to stand up, we're going to do our job the way we're supposed to. But to the client, it should be something that's invisible to them.
I think that's an interesting take on it. And I'm not about to challenge you and say you're wrong.
I'm bigger than you. I can take you anyway.
Well, I can maybe run faster, but I think the local part, because we can be members of any local association, not meaning smaller association. Right. So, we could be members of Greater Lansing Association of Realtors. And that part, I think, is important for the clients to know that we are a member of the local one that serves wherever they reside or their property that they want to buy or sell is at, because the ones that are not members of the local association of realtors are not beholden to all the same ideals that our local association is, or that the majority of our local agents are a part of. Mm-hmm. So that part of it, I think, not that we, have to have an ID card that says, hey, we're members of Greater Shiawassee Association of Realtors, we're better than the ones that are not. That's not at all it. But it does mean that we have the same interests and values of our local association and the members that are part of it. So transparent in that, we have to be a member of one. Or, I mean, as far as the visibility goes, you're right. We have to be a member of one, and it shouldn't play into a client's major decision. However, if I'm a let's just say I'm a local resident whose kids go to the local schools. I spend my money downtown, or local businesses. Period, doesn't have to be downtown. But yet, I'm going to hire an agent that is a member of, Greater Lansing or whatever. Right there, I think is where the disconnect is, and that agent doesn't have the same necessarily have the same ideals or goals as. Not sure why that just happened. Did that happen? I just had a bubble with a thumbs up show up on the screen. That was
Are you
wild.
live?
No, I don't think so. Hope not.
Oops.
But you get my point, though. It is about locality, and you'll hear all the time that real estate is hyperlocal, and because real estate is hyperlocal, or the reason real estate is hyperlocal is not just because of market statistics and market knowledge, but because of the connections and the ideals and understanding what the local customs are and whatnot. So, not in opposition to what you just said, but maybe a little addition to it.
So here's another thing that I would add to that. This might actually come off as a little derogatory, so I'm sure this will probably wind up on the cutting room floor. But the way I kind of view this is that if you are a member of the association, you are a collaborator, you're a networker, you're willing to work with other agents within your market. If you are not a member of the board, you might as well wear a label that says does not play well with others. So, I mean, that's the way that I view that is that if your business exists within this market and you are not a member of the local board, that is basically saying that I'm not willing to work with you. I'm not willing to be a collaborator. I'm not willing to network with you, which I think is grossly unfair to their clients because 90% of what we do is networking.
And that's where I think the great point, and that's where I think the disconnect is, and what you said earlier about that shouldn't be visible to the public. That part of it, I think, should be visible to public. I think the public should know.
Well, just to clarify, I wasn't saying it should be visible to the public. I said it shouldn't necessarily. It should be transparent to the public. It's something that they should know, but it's not necessarily a factor that should wholly influence their decision.
Well, okay, so not wholly, but it certainly should be a factor.
It should be, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we are on the same page.
Pretty much.
We just maybe they're
different words.
Different words.
Yeah. I probably have a meme to describe this better than I can say it.
I bet you do.
I do.
And we should see it sometime. That being said, we have definitely pushed our time on this, so we will have to postpone Brian's meme of the week, and I think that we will have to postpone market conditions conversation until next week as well, which is unusual for us. But I leave you with these parting words. Goodbye.
Or as Eli would say, peace out, homie.